How to add a custom enemy to the project. In this video we will be looking at how you can add a new enemy to your game with minimal clicks. Import your model into the scene. Make sure to import the model in the models/enemy folder for good folder organization. Feel free to add anything related to the model, such as animations, visual effects, sound effects, etc. Next, let's open the enemy script.cs file and make some additions. Adding a new enum type will allow the script to identify the new enemy type. Scrolling down a little, in the initialize variables function, we should add a new switch case that uses the new enemy scriptable object and its properties. That is all the changes you need to make in the code. Let's set up the enemy in the scene now. Drag the enemy model into the scene and back into the prefab folder to create a new enemy prefab. While we are there, add a new scriptable object, right-click, create, enemy, create new enemy type. Rename it accordingly and assign new values and game objects in the scriptable object. Now let's bring back the newly created prefab in the scene and attach necessary components. In the best interest of good game object hierarchy, add an empty parent game object and rename it, drag it back into the prefabs folder. Now add a capsule collider with isTrigger set to true. Attach the enemy script to the prefab and assign the references. You should now be able to see your new enemy type in the drop-down of enemy type. Lastly, it is important that the prefab has the enemy tag for its tag as it is used for game object identification. Add a child game object under parent and rename it hitPOS. This can be used to visually help players understand when the enemy is interacted by something in the scene, example, a bullet hit. Time to update enemy pooler. Add the new enemy scriptable object inside the enemy pooler. And that's it, you have successfully implemented a new custom enemy to your project. To check, in the Wave Manager, add a new enemy of type giant and define the number of enemies. Your enemies should be spawning and interacting with the player with no problem. You are now free to add your own animations, materials, effects, or even new mechanic to your enemy. In the next section we will learn how to add new weapons and new weapon barrel types. Let's get started. Import your weapon model and place in the models folder for good folder structure practice. Import other assets such as sprites, VFX, SFX, materials, and animations if required. Place the model in the scene, under the weapon holder game object in the player game object. The weapon holder should be the parent for the weapon in the project. While you are there, add essential components such as rigid body, audio source, mesh colliders, etc. Add the weapon tag to the weapon game object. Lastly, add a child game object to the weapon called bulletPOS. This will act as the spawn point for your bullets. Now drag the weapon to the prefab folder to save the game object as a prefab. Rename it accordingly. Moving on to the scripts, open the barrelscript.cs file and add a new enum called new weapon. This opens up a new barrel type for the barrel spawner. Scrolling down below, add new variables for new weapon health and new weapon sprite, a float and a sprite type. Make these variables public so that the barrel editor script can recognize them. Scrolling down even further, you will find a switch statement which assigns the newly added variables and applies them to the current barrel instance. Let's open the barreleditor.cs file to show the new weapon options to the inspector. A switch statement which defines a new barrel type is present. Feel free to copy-paste the above barrel type, but do not forget to rename the variable names and the field names. That is all the work we need to do in the scripts. Back in the editor, create a new weapon scriptable object by right-click, create, weapon, create new enemy type. Rename it accordingly and add your values. Add the weapon script to your new weapon prefab and assign the newly created weapon scriptable object. Don't forget to add the bulletPOS game object reference to the script. That is it for creating your new weapon. Let's create a new weapon barrel now. Go to the prefabs folder and duplicate the barrel parent game object. Rename it and drag it to the scene. Inside it, there is a child game object called barrel holder, which has a barrel script component to it. Assign the weapon barrel type as of the new weapon we created in the drop-down field. Assign the barrel health, weapon sprite if necessary, barrel damage, death radius and death damage. The last step. Go to the Wave Spawner game object, assign the new weapon barrel parent to the array in the barrel spawner script. That's it. To test, select the new weapon barrel type in the Wave Manager script and play the game. You have now successfully created a new weapon and a new weapon barrel type that is fully functional with the game, and its interactions are all working. The next section will guide you on how to add your own power-ups via the walls. In this section we will learn how to add new buffs or nerfs to your game. Before we begin, a quick heads up, there are countless ways to design buffs and debuffs, so your effect might need extra logic, code or visuals. In this tutorial, we'll keep it simple and create a movement stop nerf that temporarily disables player movement. Start by adding a new enum in the wallscript.cs file. To indicate the effect type, let's add a sprite and a float variable for the effect duration. In the setWallSprite method, add a new switch case to apply the new effect sprite. Now do the same in the applyWallEffect method, a new switch case that calls the corresponding method for that effect. In this case, a function called stopPlayerMovement from the player script. Here's an example of the effect method. Time to make changes in the wallEditor.cs file, adding a new switch case to capture the effect sprite and effect duration from the inspector. Next, add a new enum in the WaveManager.cs file to signal the Wave Manager of the new nerf type. Finally, add a new switch case in the wallSpawnerScript.cs file to spawn the new effect type walls when called. That is all we need to do in code. Let's move to the editor. Drag the wall prefab into the scene, change the wall type to nerf wall and select your new effect type in the drop down below. In this case, movement stop. Assign the values and then overwrite the prefab. To test, add the new wall type in the Wave Manager. You have now successfully created a new effect type that interacts with the player.